don't want to talk about like LGBTQ rights or trans rights in terms of like a thing that like they should be against. They're like, whoa, 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 why do we have to talk about it at all? And I think that that's something that whether it's Mark Carney or whether it's even Doug Ford to a certain degree, that I think is something that people appreciate about their political style, because like Trudeau was very much the advocate and the ally, but it seems like guys like Carney and Ford are like, we're not going to talk about it because those are rights and rights are inalienable, and we're not going to infringe on that. So I'm going to talk about the economy. I'm going to talk about jobs, and that I think allows people to cross the border between red, orange, and blue and
Yeah.
feel as though they can vote for that party. Because once you drop the social issues, we can actually start talking about the nuances of political ideology, and people can feel more free to vote and think differently.
Absolutely. And I think that's incredibly important. I also think it's incredibly important that when we talk about conservative ideology, that we drop the religion. And I realize it was a fundamental aspect of conservatism, the idea that it has a religious base. I think any serious conservative in a secular democracy has no need, no desire, no drive to weaponize their faith in order to control or spread propaganda. The more that I see prayers go on in the White House, the more I understand that that's exactly what they're trying to do. It's very, 1980 Reagan. They're trying to figure out, and it's an emotional drive. I get the play. I get the propaganda, I understand why it works. It's not that I don't understand those points. I am saying it should absolutely have no place in government in any way. And I've said this before, if we're going to have freedom of religion, we need freedom from religion. My kids hate it when I say this because I also advocate no Christmas break. They're like, Joanna! I'm like, well, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a break. Don't dial it down. I don't want to spend 2 weeks with you any more than you want to spend that 2 weeks with me. However, calling it holiday break didn't really change the needle for me. You know what I
Doesn't make a
mean? We
difference. Yeah.
4 days off at Easter. What?
That's the Easter one I always find funny, because like people like literally just cannot comprehend like why we need the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's just because it was Catholic Ontario, and this is how the holiday calendar came out. And like thankfully, at least we still like give students and people time off for other holidays that fall outside of the Judeo-Christian pantheon. Um,
Yes.
it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, no, you're right.
No, I mean, and I grew up with stores not being open on Sunday. I'm a big shopper, Frank. I open those stores, and the idea, the economic burden that was placed on Jewish or Muslim families to open up on Saturday or just lose your business. Those are really your two options back in the day.